And I give you James Guttman.
Thank you. Thank you guys. I appreciate everybody being here. Debbie, Amanda, thank you guys for the opportunity to do this. This means a lot to me, being able to speak to you guys about my kids. Both of them. My daughter Olivia, she's hiding her face, she's recording the thing right there. My daughter Olivia was born in 2008, and she was perfect the second she came out. I spent days with her, watching her grow and hitting every milestone that was in the book, many of which she hit before she was even supposed to hit them. And we would tell people about these milestones in a way that implied that we did something. We'd be like, oh, she walked. What'd you do to make her walk? We just walked. We didn't do anything. She just walked on her own. And we got to the point where we started to take it for granted about how easy it was to see these things happen and how babies advance and babies move and babies do things. And 3 years later, my son Lucas was born. Lucas, right off the bat, for me, I had the exact same feeling I had for my daughter. I couldn't believe that I could have that same feeling as a father of being like, this is a part of me, this is a person who's a part of me. And I felt just as strongly about him as I felt about her. But when it came to him, I watched him struggle silently. Initially, people ask me, they say, at what point did you think that he may have had autism or special needs? And it actually goes so early that tummy time, if anybody here has babies, you guys know tummy time, when you take your baby and put your baby on their tummy and they try to pick their head up. I spent hours with my daughter watching her. She would lift her head up, and it was the funniest thing. She would make these noises like a little powerlifter, but she was a baby, like a little baby raptor. And Lucas struggled. Lucas couldn't lift his head at all. He would have his face down like this, and I'd watch him, and every once in a while his face would shift, and he'd go face down. And I'd have to move his face out of the way. And I was the only one seeing this. Nobody else saw it. And I felt like the only person in the world that saw these things. And I didn't want to say it out loud because I felt like if I said it out loud, it would come true. And if it became true, it would be my fault. If there was anything wrong with my boy. So I tried not to. But I was aware. I had autism awareness that everybody talks about. In my family, that was my awareness. I was aware that there was something that wasn't right. I didn't want to say anything until the day that I finally, blurted it out at a California pizza kitchen during family dinner. He had been sitting at a chair, on his high chair, and he was banging his chest against the table. And all the people in the family who had always been commenting on all these things he did, they used to send shivers down my spine as if they were cute. Oh, I love it when he flaps his hands. I love it. And in my head, I'm like, how could you love it when he flaps his hands? I know what that is. And that was the day I said something out loud. I said, I don't think you're supposed to be doing that. And the response is what I thought it would be. It ended up being a memorable dinner for everybody and a fun ride home after that too, where it was kind of, it was there. It was in the air and it was in the atmosphere. We had said it. And for my family, that was autism awareness. Now, for the rest of the world, autism awareness that we deal with every April, where some people love it and some people hate it, people get upset, people fight about it. Autism awareness of the community means that I could bring Lucas out right now, we do this at a restaurant. And I've never, in the 12 years he's been alive, had anybody turn to me these classic stories that we fear when they're little. Nobody's ever said, he's so naughty, why is he clapping? Like, you worry about that. And I would go out when he was little, ready to fight everybody. I was like, we're gonna fight everybody today? I'd look at people, I'm like, do they look at me? Nobody said anything. And I felt good about it. And I even feel like now, as the years have gone by, as he's gotten older, it's gotten more, aware, I wouldn't say accepted, but more aware. People know that there's nothing to look at. They know that he's not being naughty, as weird as that would be for him to be naughty. And that to me is autism awareness for the world. So now I knew we were aware he had autism, but I didn't accept that he had autism for a while. I kept trying to figure it out. There has to be another thing, because my son doesn't do any of the things that Dustin Hoffman did in Rain Man. My son doesn't do any of these things with TV. We made eye contact all the time. I'd be like, Lucas, and he'd go, and I'm like, that's great. And he would hug, he would kiss, he would laugh, he would giggle, he would play, and all these things. And I was like, all right, that's it. Listen, we're good. I was aware that there was something off, and then it came to me in my head, and I went, he's deaf. And I was so excited that my son was going to be deaf, and it was the weirdest feeling I ever had in my life. And I told people, like, I think he's deaf. And I'd be like, all right, I think he's deaf. And I would go behind him, and I'd be like, And when he wouldn't look at me, I'd get excited. Like, yes. And when he would look at me, I'd be like, oh, it's just a guy, turn back around. Until the day that I took him to get his hearing tested. And it was just me and him in the car. And we had gone to the hospital. They did, to this day, I don't know what they did, but they were like, oh, he doesn't have to restart. We're going to hook him up. We'll tell you. And I'm like, this is great. I'm going to find out. Doesn't have autism. And afterwards, the woman came back into the room, the doctor, and she told me, she said, all right, Mr. Guttman, we tested him. He doesn't have autism, but, and it was right out of a movie. You know, in a movie when somebody says something and all of a sudden, halfway through the speech, like it drones, like there's like like this like siren. I hear this one, I heard an echo of a siren, and that's it. He has autism. And he and I drove home, and I remember I talked to him in the car. I'm like, buddy, we're gonna have to deal with this. We're gonna have to, and that was the day that I had to accept that my son had autism. And I know that we talk about awareness versus acceptance, but in this case, and in a lot of the cases that I see, I think acceptance is better than autism awareness, but just by a little bit, because acceptance doesn't really drum up feelings of somebody being happy about something. Accept is something that we have to do. It makes me think of like being in court when the district attorney comes over with that ridiculous like argument, and the judge is like, I'll accept it. That's how I felt about him. Like, I'll accept it. It's got all to do with it. And for the rest of the world, I kind of see it the same way. I think a lot of people accept that he has autism. They don't understand it. They don't question it. It just is. And I thought about my son's autism all the time. I obsessed about it. That's the only thing I can think of until December 13th, 2012, because that's the day that I had a heart attack. It was actually the day that I found out I had the last of what was many heart attacks that I've been having for years. I didn't even know what they were. I had tingles in my hands. I had pain in my chest. I had a lot of things that I didn't know what they were. And I walked to the walk-in center, and I had a conductive bypass after being healthy my whole life. It was in my family. I had no idea. And that was the day that I went to the hospital. And when I came out, all I wanted to do was see my kids. I wanted to see both of them. It wasn't about what he could do. It wasn't about what he couldn't do. It was about who he is. And I started to really look at him from a different angle. I wasn't looking at his autism as something that was negatively affecting him. I was starting to see the parts of his personality that he has now that are because of autism. He's got no ego. He's not, my son is the purest soul I've ever met in my life. He's loving because he wants to be loving. He's never come up to me and given me a hug because he wants a toy or because he wants to give me a hug because he wants to give me a hug. He doesn't lie. He's not deceitful. He's just a good person, and a lot of that is due to his autism. He's going to have challenges. That's a part of it. I get it, and I accept it. And for him, that's going to be tough, and for us, it's going to be tough. But the good qualities that autism brings to me is a thing that I've been calling autism appreciation. I feel like there are aspects to all of our children, and we all know whether you have a child who has autism, special needs, or a child who doesn't have special needs, like my daughter, there's parts of her personality that I appreciate so much, and there's parts of her personality that are struggles that we have to work on for all of us. And it's the same thing with him. It's no different. And every day that I go out, I want the world to know who he is. And I want the world to understand, because most people only see him when he is acting out. It's only at a supermarket, we're walking, everyone ignores us, and he'll have a meltdown. And they see that. For some people, that's the only time they ever see autism, is only in that moment with me and my son. And I'm aware of that. And I try to remember that most people don't interact with people like him. So it's our job as his dad, as his sister, as people in his family, to show the world the best parts of his personality that they might not notice because they're either distracted, they're in their own life, or they're only noticing the negatives. And that's why I started this blog, and that's why I've been writing for years about him. I think it's the job of all of us. And one of the things that I discovered from writing the blog in the very beginning, I used to get negative responses from people. And I would always engage these readers. It was never negative responses where people made fun of it, which I was concerned about, or it was always a negative response of somebody who had a negative interaction with a family. And I remember I had this woman, I've always thought about this woman who was upset because I had written about him stealing food from people. He was big with it. He's got, it used to be, coffee cups, and you name it. And I read about it funny. Oh, this is a funny little article. People were pissed. They're like, oh my God, like this kid, he's gonna get arrested for stealing pancakes. But this one woman told me a story. She said her neighbor has a child with autism. He came up and tore all the flowers out of her garden. she's like, and then I went to this woman, I said, you throw my flowers out. And she said, he has autism, nothing I can do. And that was the day that I thought to myself, it's my job to show everyone the best parts of him. It's my job to remember that in many ways we're the representatives to them about what autism is. So autism awareness starts with us, autism acceptance starts with us, and autism appreciation starts with us. And that's been my goal. And I don't know, man, I've talked to a lot of you. I know a lot of you people here who are just doing it at school. And I know that all of you know the positives about your own kids. And I know a lot of you guys love your children. And that's, I think, the most important thing is to go out there and tell people, show them the best parts of your kids, show them that they're not good kids despite autism. In many ways, they're good kids because of autism in a lot of ways. And that's my kid, and that's why I write my blog, and that's what I do. Thank you guys for the opportunity to speak to you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.